Intelligence.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diego Torres, and I'm the founder of Jada, a laboratory dedicated to developing safe and ethical artificial general intelligence, also known as AGI or strong AI. And we're joining the Influence AI Global Frontier Summit to talk about product adoption and real world case studies regarding artificial intelligence systems. But before that, I'm going to start by saying this: AI was never meant to replace humans. Its purpose was to help us achieve more, and this means generating results greater than what we could otherwise achieve on our own. It's important to keep this in mind because we're starting to notice, and by we, I mean I and many other industry players, we're starting to notice that people are becoming severely lazy. And by that, I mean they're just completely delegating their entire workflow to AI products. An example is literally just they'll get like their like their email, like an email with instructions on what to do, or the tasks, the itinerary for the rest of the week or whatever, and then they'll just copy that text, put it in the chat window of their favorite AI product, and then just whatever the AI responds, like that's what they present to their coworkers. Or, and I mean, it's just not ethical. It's not ethical because people are starting to detach themselves from the actual value generation process. And it just doesn't make sense either from like an economic standpoint to monetarily compensate people that do that, because they're not actually part of the value chain anymore. Yeah, I mean, one could argue, right, that they're still making the decision to grab a a piece of information and then put it in the chat window. But I mean, how much of that really is valuable? If the person isn't actually thinking about how to solve a problem and they're merely just copying the output as it is, as it was provided to them by the system. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So in cases like that, like, I'd rather just wire my money to the developer of the AI, right? or or a crypto transaction if it's the case. But that's pretty much what I've come to believe and noticed across the years. And it's different. It's very different to 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, like 30 years ago, like in that time frame, when people were starting to get access to the internet, to the www, and information was freely available. Yeah, people could copy and paste the text off of online forums or whatever, but we still had to process the text. We still had to adapt it into our specific work environments and our specific contexts. And and now it's different because we can just tell an AI how we want it formatted and where it's going to land and such and such. And Sometimes not even like we don't even have to do that anymore because the AI is able to like pick up the context from the piece of information that you're giving it, you know? So it's important to keep this in mind, you know, because as humans we need to keep becoming smarter. And like, well, we're going to talk about that later, but first let's talk about how should ethical AI collaboration actually look like. And I'm going to give you this example. It's a case study of a general AI agent. So this workflow that I'm going to talk about, I believe it's really well balanced. It's really well balanced, and it has an equal participation of both the human element and the AI machine, which is critical, because if only the AI is doing the work, then the quality of the work is going to suffer. The same way that if we humans are alone, or just one person is spearheading a really large project, then you know the quality is going to suffer, or maybe they're going to need like a really long time to accomplish it, right? So this this is the way. So um, there's an aerospace company developing hulls and electronic systems for aircrafts and UAVs. Now, for context, it can take humans working at this company a very long time to achieve any significant traction in their projects. You know, very, very complex systems are being developed, and it takes time. So some examples are developing the geometry, right? The geometry for the exterior hulls of these aircrafts, or maybe the sensors that go into the navigation systems. All of these things take time. They're very, very complex. So a specific project of this company was developing a type of drone that could operate under extended periods of time under, well, severe weather. Severe weather being defined as modest to extreme rain. Now, in order to complete and accelerate the time that it would take to finish this project, the company started working with a general AI agent. Now, the first step that this agent took when being deployed was analyzing all of the company's current data, right? That way it could identify the challenges that it was going to face, you know, the challenges ahead, and figure out a way how to overcome them to achieve the goal, you know, developing this new kind of drone that they're working on. So once the goal was set and the agent was able to identify the challenges ahead, the company needed to establish the parameters under which the goal must be achieved, together with the resources available. In this case, there was a development time frame, existing R&D already performed that needed to be included, a set operating budget that had to be respected, and some engineers that were actively working on the project that were already working, you know, within, you know, very specific company operating guidelines. So with all of this, the AI agent was able to lay out an optimized workflow to achieve the goal. Some activities, yes, fully delegated to the AI and reviewed by humans for final approval, or in some cases, humans performing the majority of a task with the AI reviewing their output and filling in the blanks. Some additional activities performed by the agent were creating a bill of materials, establishing assembly instructions, collecting and condensing feedback, running product simulations, and explaining how the product worked. Now, project management was also performed by the agent in order to have a better understanding of the progress and also to more accurately make delivery projections that could be used by the stakeholders of the product being developed. Now, this kind of AI human collaboration led to an overall 80% increase in the completion speed, right? By enhancing the team's ability to perform some of the tasks in their workflow and bringing in materials that could be used to complement the work being done by the humans. So This helped also reduce the product's originally planned development time from, a year to only 2.4 months, all without sacrificing quality. Now, this shift in collaboration with AI helps us free time and resources, which can then be directed to enhancing the level of technological sophistication together with the quality of the service being delivered to customers. Now, while the present study follows the development of a specific kind of product in the aerospace industry, the reality is that general AI agents can be applied in any kind of work environment, in any industry. It's not only limited to products, you can also apply it to services or even employee to employee collaboration. The deployment possibilities are only limited to the following. And the first parameter is awareness. How aware are you? How fully do you understand the value that is being generated within the organization and the processes involved in generating said value? The next is adaptation. Now, how quickly can a decision maker introduce change within an organization? How fast can an organization adapt to to the changing environment, to the changing business environment and all of the variables that come into play with that? Because changing establishing processes is difficult. It takes time, but that time can be reduced if you really want to do it, without resistance, of course. If there's like a lot of resistance or whatever, well, people just go in circles. And the power of an organization to actually experiment with new ways of solving problems, which is execution. You can you can plan all you want, but like realistically, what power do you have to like actually implement and take action on those bullet points in the plan that you're developing? So now we've noticed that the organizations that can afford to take these steps are the ones that actually evolve and become future proof, because they create growth by avoiding stagnation. Staying ahead of their competitors, not just by implementing new technologies, but also identifying new business opportunities. And that has a lot to do with adaptation. And well, the world we live in is always changing. The organizations that decide to, dismiss new technologies, dismiss new ways of working, they're normally the ones that are pretty much doomed to fail, to be displaced, to become obsolete, right? Because the reality is that the world that we live in is constantly forced into adapting and finding new partners or new solutions to stay relevant, right? And yes, AI is helping companies in different industries accelerate their production pipelines, their projects. But as I mentioned earlier, us humans still need to continue striving to become smarter and more capable. We as a species need to continue evolving also, the same way that AI is becoming smarter all the time. So, but why do we want to become smarter, and why do we want to? It's a really simple answer. We need to stay competitive. We don't want to. No one wants to feel useless. It's a hard to swallow pill sometimes, but it's the reality, and it can be really hard to feel useful sometimes. But we need to remember that we're all gifted with different kinds of intelligence, with different kinds of abilities. And just because you're not good at something anymore, or someone or something can do it better than you, doesn't mean that you're useless. It, there is no such thing as being useless. It's just a matter of finding exactly what what you're capable of at the moment and what you feel passion for. And you'll eventually find the answers. And then once you have these answers, you'll be able to use the new technologies around you, AI being one of them, to achieve more, right? To do more, to to work smarter, to work in a different way. You know, things unfortunately don't stay the same for long. So that's pretty much the that's pretty much the collaboration aspect, I believe, works and that I've seen work in many places. You know, and I say this a lot because I've seen people mostly in the creative industry, in any industry, even the tech industry. I've seen people put in so much love into the code that they produce to make sure that it just has like all of the like all of the dependencies, the dependencies, like each module is communicating appropriately with the other module. Very clean code, very redundant, very with fail safes, very well done code. And it takes a lot of human hours to make art like that, you know. And I just think it's really sad that a lot of people are just like, but let's just ask an AI to do it. It'll do it in a few seconds, and then yeah, like you look at the code being generated by the AI, and yeah, it's good, but you still need to spend like another 40 hours like editing it, depending on how it was prompted. But what I'm trying to say with all of this is it can be hard to it can be hard to feel useful when there's a bunch of people telling you, yeah, but AI can do your work in a fraction of a second, it's the quality. It's the quality, and I'm not saying that AI doesn't have any quality. It does. But the same way that us humans are not perfect, AI is never going to be perfect. And yeah, we can strive to design AI systems, with an ever increasing level of perfection. Heck, I know I do. Like I'm always trying to make sure that our AI is anyway. So what I'm trying to say with this is keep the way that you collaborate with AI systems balanced. There has to be an equal amount of the AI, but also you. And well, lastly, we have to keep in mind that many of these general AI agents that I'm talking about, it's still very experimental technology, but the reality is that, they have a totally new kind of architecture, and it's an architecture designed to create answers that were not previously programmed. And it's totally different to commercial AI systems like LLMs, like language models derived by NLP, natural language processing, which they're designed to give answers based on information that was already labeled, tasks that were already performed in the past. So there's no surprise if you know the science. So understanding this crucial difference will be very important when you decide what kind of system you're going to deploy in your work environment. Are you going to welcome an AI that's designed to learn and adapt to new scenarios, or are you just going to install a system that was trained on conflicting data? This difference is what's going to determine the short-term and long-term success of your enterprise. So choose wisely.